Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Hall of Famer Bob Berry ruled Milwaukee's airwaves in the 60s and 70s. He spoke with countless musicians and celebrities over the years. Bob collected remarkable recordings of these encounters, which he's now sharing with the public. Here's Bob.
If you were around in the 70s, you might remember hearing this on WOKY.
Just when we were getting to be well-to-do, the Watergate turned into our Waterloo. And now everybody is out to demean poor Haldeman, Ehrlichman, Mitchell, and Dean.
It'll be 50 years, June 17th, that the Watergate break-in occurred. Bernard Barker was a Watergate burglar and also worked with the CIA in a plot to overthrow Cuban leader Fidel Castro. Barker was born in Havana, became a U.S. citizen in 1935. In 1961, he joined the Bay of Pigs invasion. In 1972, Barker was one of the 5 burglars paid by the committee to re-elect President Nixon. Along with the other burglars, including G. Gordon Liddy, Barker was charged with and pleaded guilty to wiretapping, planting surveillance equipment, and theft of documents. He served 1 year of a 6-year sentence. Barker was portrayed in the film All the President's Men by Henry Calvert.
Final days of All the President's Men, I guess, don't quite make for a good conversation piece. Lucky number 7 doesn't quite make it either, especially if your name is Bernard Barker or Frank Sturgis or James McCord. These 3 men and 4 others were the unlucky Watergate 7. And convicted Watergate burglar Bernard Barker is on the air with us right now, and he's out with his own review of All the President's Men. What did you think of the movie, Bernard?
Well, I found it pretty accurate in the part that corresponded to our involvement in it, but not completely accurate. I mean, accurate in the way it presented, but it told the truth, but not all of the truth. The impression that I got from the way the money was handled, it seemed that as if it was all in my bank account, and it wasn't. It was in a trust account where the money was maintained for operational money, and that is the only involvement that it went through our trust account.
So you actually never really saw the money then, huh?
Yes, I saw the money, but I returned it over to the proper person who handed the money to me. In other words, it gives the impression that I kept the money, which is not true, which it implies some sort of a payment, which was not correct. Outside of that, I find the rest of it pretty accurate. I think they put the tapes in the wrong place in the doors.
How about the guy that played the part of you?
Well, I was very much impressed by the man. When I first saw the picture, I almost thought it was myself. It gave me sort of a creepy feeling.
Yeah, I bet. What impressed you most about the All the President's Men movie?
Well, I think that the fact that the picture was pretty low-key in the sense that the Washington Post did not try to represent themselves as the savior of the country, but stuck to a strict reporting newspaper reporter investigator, and I thought that in that sense, I think the picture is most interesting in that aspect.
You thought it was pretty accurate, though, huh?
Well, from the part that I have seen, I would say it was pretty accurate reporting. However, I do believe that the picture brings out one point, and that is the fact that it states that whoever was in charge of the operation, it could be seen to those involved that this was proper authority, and I think that point is brought out quite clearly.
Mr. Barker, how did they happen to choose you as one of the Watergate burglars?
This is a subject of a book that we are writing. The involvement of the Cuban people with the government of the United States has been a long involvement. I'm talking about the Cubans, the anti-Castro Cubans. We have been involved with the three or four different governments of the United States for many years. And that is why on a national security mission, they went to those people they thought they could trust.
Who was the big man behind it?
Behind what?
Well, I mean, as far as the man that contacted you.
No, the man that contacted me was Mr. Howard Hunt, who was my superior during the Bay of Pigs invasion.
Do you feel this was, now that it's all over, do you feel that you still were doing the right thing at the time?
Under the circumstances, there was really nothing else I could do at the time.
Why do you say that?
Well, because the matter was brought up to me as a matter of national security, as a matter for which I had been trained for previously. There was never a recruitment for Watergate. The recruitment was for the Ellsbergs, and it was told to me, and it's a matter of court record, that it involved a man who was passed on information to the Soviet embassy.
Who was that?
Ellsberg, Daniel Ellsberg. Our recruitment was originally for the Ellsberg matter.
What were you doing before you committed the burglary?
I never committed a burglary. We don't talk in the same, you and I are not talking in the same wavelength. This was a surreptitious entry. This is a term used in intelligence. My image of a burglary is different. I'm incapable of being a burglar who you really want to go into that.
Okay, well, what were you doing before this, Bill, before the incident?
Realtor, the real estate business.
I see. And now you're the Miami sanitation inspector, correct?
I'm just for the city of Miami as a sanitation inspector. I'm assigned to a Cuban community.
I see. How did you happen to get into this?
Sanitation inspector?
Yeah, right.
It's a job, just like any other. I had been a sanitation inspector in Cuba previously.
Did you know what and for whom you were working? You know what it was all about when you got into it?
In where? In the sanitation department?
Into the Watergate situation.
Mr. Hunt had been my superior during the Bay of Pigs invasion.
Okay, so you knew what it was all about, though.
I knew Mr. Hunt personally, yes. Okay. Well, I think we've covered enough of the material. I wouldn't care to go rehash a whole Watergate thing. I don't think it's appropriate now after all these years.
All right. Well, I thank you for talking with us, Mr. Barker.
You have to go to work.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks.
G. Gordon Liddy organized the burglary of the Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate building. Liddy was convicted of burglary, conspiracy, and illegal wiretapping. He spent 4.5 years in prison. He later became a syndicated radio talk show host, and he was also the author of several books.
Hello, Mr. Liddy.
Speaking.
Bob Berry at WOKY, Milwaukee.
How are you, Bob?
I'm fine. So you're going to be back here in town on March 2nd?
March 2nd is correct.
I don't know, you appeared here at UWM recently, and you had some hecklers there. Have you been running into a lot of that type of thing on your when you make your speeches?
There really weren't very many of them there. There was maybe 6, and there really wasn't much of a problem. You know, they made some noise, but when offered a chance to ask a question, they demonstrated to the remainder of the audience of about 900 that they had a brain about the size of a walnut.
We're talking to Gordon Liddy. He's the author of the autobiography of Gordon Liddy. And it tells about the plotting to kill, kidnap, drug people perceived as enemies of the Nixon White House. Spent nearly 5 years in federal prisons for his role in the Watergate burglary in 1972. And, boy, I guess you saw the world as it really is, as you say, right?
Well, I like to think so. There's not much I haven't done and not many places I haven't been.
What was the most interesting aspect of your Nixon White House?
I suppose actually working in the White House is probably the most interesting thing, and being at the real seat of government, the actual source of power in this country, and seeing the way it works. I think it would be a fascinating experience for any thinking person.
You got any threats on your life at all?
No, not recently.
Not recently, huh? What are you going to do after the book and all the speeches die out?
Well, I'm going to write another book. That will be my third. We're anticipating, according to my agents, that the speeches won't die out, so we'll continue that. I started a new business called G. Gordon Liddy Associates. It's industrial counter-espionage. I'll be making a movie. And what is it the tennis players say? Never change a winning game. I think I'll just continue.
How do you feel about the war situation right now in the world? Where do you think one's going to break out? Is there any one particular place you feel it'll break out?
Well, I do think that the Soviet Union, probably after the next party Congress, not before, will invade Poland. I do not anticipate that will lead to World War III, if for no other reason than that the United States is, frankly, unprepared to fight even a small war, much less a world war. As for long-term, the most hazardous situation, I'd say it's directly to the south of us. There's been a massive projection of Soviet power in Central and South America, and I think that long-term is the one that's potentially the most hazard.
You think now that all of this came out about plotting to kill, kidnap, drug people, that a lot of this will never happen again in our government?
If you believe that, I'll tell you the story about the Easter Bunny.
We're hauling Alderman, Ehrlichman, Mitchell, and Dean. The way we've been treated is really obscene. To think that a bug worth hardly a shrug could end up by getting us tossed in the jug. We all got the gate. Bob Berry.
Thank you for listening to Bob Berry's Unearthed Interviews. Be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find all the episodes at WisconsinBroadcastingMuseum.org. Check out Bob Berry's book, Rock and Roll Radio Milwaukee. Book sale proceeds support Angels Kids Fund and Donate Life Wisconsin. The preceding program was made possible by a generous contribution from Terry Bond.